Chapter 1 Life is far more crap than fiction. Fingning City. The prefecture-level cities in Yuanhai Province, following the country's big step development, are medium-sized cities with relatively developed economies and high per capita consumption levels. Compared with the big cities at the provincial capital level, the difference between Fengning City is population and area, and it started a few years later. A thriving and booming city. The camera zooms down to a 3-story building, which is a slightly old apartment, 2 streets away from the city's main road, next to the vegetable market, and the only greenery is the creeper on the back wall. Love Home Apartment. The first floor is rented out as a store, a noodle restaurant, mala tang, and dried grain and oil. The upper 2 floors are accommodation apartments. There is a straight corridor, the door-to-door pattern of the rooms on both sides. The total number of rooms on the 2 floors is about 30. Bang bang bang. Russell knocked on the door of number 213 with a blank face. He is the landlord of this apartment. He came to talk about the renewal of the contract today. If the tenant does not intend to continue living, he will end the contract and put the room number on the internet. After knocking for 5 minutes, Russell had no intention of stopping. He knew that there was someone inside, because the tenant was a nighttime female anchor who basically made up for sleep during the day. Sure enough, with Russell's insistence that he knocked on the door without opening the door, there was finally movement in the house. A series of scolding greetings to relatives drifted past, and the female anchor wearing suspenders pajamas opened the door, and it took another 10 seconds to focus her sleepy eyes. "Hey, isn't this the handsome landlord? What's the wind blowing today? You actually knocked on my door?" The female anchor saw Russell, and immediately wrapped her hands around his arm, and she whimpered. "Hi in sugar. Hee hee, you have such strong arms. I can't tell that you are quite predictable. In fact, you can come at night. I'm not in the state during the day, so many poses cannot be unlocked." Because of the suspenders pajamas, the female anchor immediately showed most of the indescribable balls after this action, but Russell turned a blind eye to this, pulled out his arms, and took a step back, maintaining a certain distance. Russell did this because the female anchor is too ugly. She has a standard internet celebrity face, a chin that can pierce her chest, and a pair of breasts that can be pierced by her chin. There are many people who call her a goddess during the live broadcast. It's not that there is a problem with Russell's orientation, but because the female anchor's pair of tits, it will shine when you hit it with a flashlight. Russell had seen the female anchor's ID card, and knew that her double eyelids, melon seed face, and high nose bridge were all fake. She originally had a Chinese character face with small eyes and a collapsed nose bridge. Russell said directly, "Beauty, your lease term is due next month. I'll ask you if you plan to extend the lease term. If so, you can pay half a year's rent today." I hate it. Talking about money hurts feelings. Let's have an in-depth exchange. If you are satisfied, how about giving me a discount on the rent? She is used to seeing online hangers holding stinky feet. She is very interested in people like Russell who are not fake. Hooking up with them will make her feel more fulfilled about her beauty. Russell put on a smiley face. "I'm sorry, you're not my type, the artificial one is too hard." The female anchor directly rolled her eyes, pulled the sling back on her shoulders, folded her hands on her chest and leaned against the door. "To tell you the truth, your toilet here is blocked every 3 days. I don't plan to continue living, I will be at the end of the month. Just moved away, and my godfather prepared a house for me. Okay, I will come to get the door key at the end of the month. Remember to find someone to clean the room. You can also pay 100 yuan, and I will let the cleaner clean it up." Russell was businesslike, and finally added kindly, "Although the contract is here. Deadline, but we still have the opportunity to cooperate in the future. If you are abandoned by your godfather, you are welcome to come back at any time. This chat can make the silicone gas out." The female anchor took a deep breath, unwilling to have the same knowledge as Russell, a stubborn slugger. The landlord, handsome guy, "When you get the keys at the end of the month, remember to come at night. don't disturb my beauty sleep during the day. And, in advance, send me a WeChat notification. I don't want to open the door for you during the live broadcast. It will cause unnecessary misunderstandings among my fans, you understand? No problem, let's add a WeChat first to facilitate contact. Don't you have my WeChat? The hostess looked confused. When I first moved here, we added friends. Russell shook his head and said without showing any embarrassment, I have deleted you. Last time you sent me a selfie in the middle of the night. The female anchor's eyelids twitched, her hands on her hips. She suppressed her anger and said, if you delete it, you don't need to add it. Call me and let me know. It was also deleted. Female anchor. After re-adding WeChat, the female anchor pointed her middle finger at Russell's back and closed the door with a bang. There is material for tonight's live broadcast. The innocent and reserved beautiful tenant was bullied by the bully landlord and almost lost both money and money. A wave of dog-licking rewards is urgently needed to comfort the traumatized tender heart. Russell, male, 25 years old, single, no bad habits. At a young age, he can own a 3-story apartment building in the urban area. Although the apartment building is a little old, it is also a considerable amount of wealth, so it is definitely impossible to rely on hard work. It was an afternoon more than half a year ago. Russell was a police officer at the time. After get off work, his eyelids throbbed and he bought a lottery ticket. Then he received a call that his parents had a car accident and left. They walked neatly, and this apartment building was their legacy to Russell. The driver who caused the accident is a well-known entrepreneur in the city, and he has also won the Outstanding Entrepreneurship Award. The cause was negotiating a business deal with a client at the wine table and driving a drink with a female secretary. Halfway through the road, he was shocked, his eyes were blurred, and his hands and feet were weak, so he didn't hold the steering wheel and ran into Russell's parents while driving in the opposite direction. The car caused this tragedy. Russell's parents are gone, and the entrepreneur and his female secretary are gone. The accident was dealt with quickly. According to the investigation results, the entrepreneur is fully responsible. There was no bullying during the handling period. The family members of the entrepreneur took the initiative to take full responsibility and compensated a large amount of money. They just wanted to keep Russell's mouth shut and don't tell the truth about the investigation. Of course, the reason why the family members of the entrepreneurs are so refreshing may also be related to Russell wearing a police uniform. Seeing the entrepreneur's father, an old man with gray hair, kneeling and begging for his son's reputation, Russell could only choose to remain silent. People are gone, and what else is there to say? While cleaning his parents' room, Russell found a diary kept in the dark compartment of the bookshelf, which was filled with garbled characters, words subtracted from newspapers, and some disordered Arabic numerals. If it was an ordinary person, it might only feel a little strange, but Russell is a policeman, and he recognized at a glance that this was not a diary, but a codebook. This made Russell extremely puzzled. His father, Luo Hontang, was a middle-aged Mediterranean man with a beer belly and a stubby foot. In addition to collecting rent, he played mahjong. Her mother, Fong Yanqing, is a woman with an out-of-shape body, and her daily life is similar. Apart from collecting rent, she plays mahjong. There are only 2 ordinary people in the market. What secrets can they have at all? And they even wrote a codebook to keep them hidden. It took Russell 3 days to decipher the codebook through the first book from the left on each floor of the shelf, according to the Arabic numerals, to decipher the codebook, and the conclusion he came to stunned him was that his parents were killers. It's really getting old. With such a mysterious identity as a killer, what the hell is it to collect rent and play mahjong every day? Experts are in the folk? Hidden in the city? Even if you don't care about the killer's arrogance and deliberately show a low profile, at least you have to wear a decent outfit, but Russell's parents don't even have a suit, leather shoes, and sunglasses, they don't even have hairspray. Thinking of his father's beer belly shaking 3 times, and his mother's bucket waist, Russell felt that they were very successful in concealment. and no one would associate them with the killer. Especially the father Lu Hantang. The first thing to get up every day is to carefully comb his Mediterranean, combing the hair on both sides to the middle as much as possible. This kind of greasy middle-aged man who is constantly dying with his hair follicles calls him a killer. Who would believe him? Also, what kind of mentality did the killer's parents train their son to become a policeman? Life is more nonsense than fiction. When Russell deciphered the codebook, he found a lot of information that made him sick. For example, more than half of the blind dates arranged for him by his mother, Fong Yanqing, are people in the industry. His ex-girlfriend, who was reluctantly transferred abroad because of work needs, chose to break up peacefully, and he was sad for a while. I hate killers. Russell covered his face with his hands. In this family of affection, he was almost a killer except him. After a period of depression, Russell resigned from the police force. He couldn't expose his parents, and he had no face to put on a police uniform. He simply transferred a 3-story apartment building, became a landlord, and recently learned to play mahjong. Russell thought that the matter would end here, but he underestimated his heart to kill. Out of curiosity about his parents and ex-girlfriend, he stole his father's chat account and peeped at the killer group every day. The account number is on the computer, and the password Russell succeeded after 2 attempts, the Hanyu pinyin of Luo's mother Fong Yanqing, plus the Arabic numeral 520. According to Russell's understanding of his parents, Luo's father must be passive when setting the password. The killer group is very lively, they often turn their heads to 99+, these people use passwords to talk about work, and the rest are just bragging. There are also various identities. Cartoonists, film critics, photographers, script editors, and those who eat low-income living allowances are all occupations with a high degree of freedom. The most exaggerated thing is that 6 of the 10 killers are full-time online writers. At first, these killers worked as freelance writers for publishing houses. Later, physical books were bombarded by e-books, and the publishing house closed on a large scale. They collectively changed their careers to become online writers. Business novel. Russell doesn't think they're telling the truth about their identities, and it's easy to see why. If this group of people is serious, then at some point 80% of online writers are worth pondering. Especially those habitual eunuchs, or writers who suddenly broke off and deceived corpses, basically checked it out and didn't run away. In the daily bragging of these guys, Russell gradually understands the real life of his parents and ex-girlfriends. He is not as tall as in the movie, and he is disgusted by his identity as a killer. It's a pity that when you enter this industry, you don't want to get a vote to get out. They hate their identity, but they can't get out. Unless the group owner, that is, the head who knows everyone's true identities, hangs up, or accept their fate in this life. For example, Russell's father, Luo Hantang, was originally a veteran, poor. In order to raise money to marry Luo's mother Fong Yanqing, he was dragged into this pit by the old squad leader. When Russell was born, it was too late for him to stop thinking about it. Even Luo Mu was brought into the pit by him. She was responsible for booking train tickets, collecting intelligence, drawing up assassination plans, and part-time finance. Since then, Russell has been lurking in the killer group to watch them brag. Not to mention, there are people from all over the world, and his favorite is to slap the bar. Russell learned a lot of unpopular knowledge in it. The innermost room on the 3rd floor of the apartment, where Lu Hantang and Fong Yanqing lived for the longest time, was also where Russell discovered the codebook. There were many secrets in this room, and everything that could be found was cleaned up by Russell. He was worried that there were still some secrets. Hidden is not found, so have been living here. Russell first looked at the cell phone he had found from the crevice of the bedside table, and it showed that there were no missed calls and messages. Then he put it on the side to charge it, turned on the computer, logged into the account proficiently, and began to spy on the screen every day. At this moment, a mechanized electronic synthesis sound sounded in the room. To be precise, the sound sounded in Russell's mind, and no one but him could hear it. Please note, host, the third mission world is about to start, and now it's a 10-minute countdown, please get ready. The voice reminded him back and forth 3 times, but Russell didn't respond. He picked up a cigarette on the computer desk and lit a cigarette. He sat quietly and didn't move. He didn't smoke, but sometimes he would light a cigarette to relieve fatigue. Russell, male, 25 years old, single, no bad habits. There is a system.